So I want to provide some final thoughts on this appetite mastery system. And if you've been with us from the beginning and you watched all the other videos in this series, you know that this system is all about figuring out which cues, which of these areas is influencing that part of my brain that drives me to eat, to want to eat. Remember, the hypothalamus, the eating center of our brain, the drive center of our brain, is constantly receiving signals from the brain itself, from the external environment, kind of through the sensing and perceiving part of our brains, and from the digestive tract as well. There's all these messages that are constantly coming in, and some of them kind of put the accelerator down and make us want to eat more, and some of them maybe put the brake down a little bit more and decrease our desire to eat. But the thing is that these influences, these messages are going to be different for each person, and they're going to be interpreted and influence us differently as well. So really a key part of this system isn't like do A, B, and C and you will lose weight or you will have mastery over your appetite. This system's really about you. It's really about you figuring out what is driving you to eat the way you're eating, right? Once we figure that out and we're compassionate and loving to ourselves as we figure it out, we can start making changes in the specific areas, the specific messengers that are driving our desire to eat more than others, because it's going to be different for different people. Okay, so these are the areas that can affect our appetite, and then the tools to kind of help to readjust our appetite and get to a place where we don't, we feel more in control of our eating behavior, is to kind of make over our thoughts, change the way we eat, what we eat and the way we eat, the what and the how of how we eat, in order to fix some of the messengers to our brain as well, to find more emotional peace. So we're not using food as a coping strategy. No judgment. If you are, that is very normal. So many of us do that. Food is naturally soothing. So it makes total sense that a lot of us use it as a coping mechanism. But if that is the case, then again, we want to figure out how to rework that, maybe how to find more emotional peace so that doesn't happen. If it's our relationships or our environment, these external factors that are influencing our appetite more than others, more than other areas, then again, it takes some readjusting of those things to help get to a place where we feel a lot more masterful of our appetite. All of this is really about changing our behaviors, right? I don't talk a lot about weight loss because I don't want to focus too much just on weight loss. But if that is perhaps your goal, you can't just lose weight. What I mean by that is like losing weight isn't a behavior. I can't be like, and force myself to lose weight. Like I can't like make myself lose weight in this moment, right? If I want to lose weight, weight is an outcome. A change in weight is a potential outcome of you changing your behaviors, right? So if you want to change your behaviors, there's often like a formula that comes around with that. And then again, part of appetite mastery is figuring out which behaviors or which cues you need to change. And if you are going to change your behaviors, this is something that's, I think, a foundational recipe for that, right? You have to be self-aware. You have to be self-aware of what's going on right now. What is influencing your current behaviors and why are they influencing them perhaps? And then how can you lovingly work towards changing that in a way that's in line with your values, right? In line with your goals. If you're aware of what's currently going on, and again, what signals are driving your appetite, then you can start thinking about, well, what do I want to change and how do I align those changes with things I really want and that are really, really important to me? And how can I do that really without messing up my mental health? How can I do that with compassion? How can I do that with self-love? Unfortunately, the diet culture and all that kind of, beauty culture is really obsessed with like, you should feel bad about the way you are because you're not aligned with this perfect model of how you're supposed to be, which I think is all bullshit, right? So how do we like move away from that and just have a lot of compassion about the fact that we're human, about the fact that we struggle with things, about the fact that certain things are going to be more difficult for some people than others? How do we be compassionate with ourselves about our own humanity? And sometimes about our own genetics. Because for instance, genetics can be one of the major things that influences appetite, right? We know that. There's a lot of genetic studies that support that, twin studies, genome-wide association studies that support how strong of an effect genetics might have on appetite. So how do we be compassionate about the fact that it can be more difficult for us? How do we be aware of what's currently going on? And then how do we, with that awareness, with that self-compassion, start to direct our focus, right? Direct our movement towards what we really want, what we value, how we want our life to be different in a way that's going to make us, let's say, happier, right? Or more joyful or more connected, okay? That's part of my recipe for changing behavior, right? So then again, which area is driving your appetite the most? That's one of the main questions that we want to focus on, right? Which factors are most affecting your drive to eat? Is it your thoughts? Is it the signals coming from your digestive tract? Are they truly hunger signals? I'm going to do a video on mental versus actual hunger. And maybe that can help you figure out what signals are truly coming from your digestive tract and which ones aren't, right? Are you being influenced by your environment? Is it social cues that are influencing you? Or are you eating based on emotional states, right? Which is, maybe you want to order those. Maybe you want to order them from top, this is the thing that's influencing the most to influencing me the least. And then maybe you go back to that video I made about those specific things and find which strategies will work for you, because they're not all going to work for you, but find which strategies are going to work for you to help you change that, ideally for the better. Okay? So what can you work on changing? And what do you value about these changes? Why do you want to change these things? Is it just that you want to eat less so you can lose weight, so you can feel more valuable in society? And I get that. I get that a lot of people think that way. And I don't want to disparage anyone that thinks that way. But that's a way of living your life that's always about other people. And it's a bit of a disempowered way of living your life, because you're giving other people the power to determine how you feel from day to day. So how can you create values or goals that are in line with things that really make you happy or that mean something to you, right? What do you value about these changes? What do you value about not being influenced by other people and their eating behaviors? What do you value about feeling that you know the signals that are coming to your brain? What do you value about maybe not eating so much at night? What do you value? What's important? Why are you doing this stuff, right? And again, you might want to write a list out. And don't just focus on how other people are going to perceive you differently, right? But how are you going to feel different? How is this going to help you express your light more in life? How does this help you show up more confidently, right? Really connect with those values, because they're going to help you move forward and really focus on changing the things you want to change, okay? So in behavior change, like science, one of the things we often talk about is kind of how ready you are to actually change your behavior, right? So again, if you've maybe just watched my video on managing your emotional health or changing your environmental cues, and maybe there's one particular strategy that you want to try out, how ready are you to make that change? Because if it's a 1 or a 0, then maybe that's not the change you focus on first. Maybe you focus on changes that you're like, yeah, I'm friggin' ready. And if you're not ready, maybe you want to connect more with your values and your attitudes of why it's important to you, right? Why you want that kind of life for yourself, right? That helps to build up the like, I'm freaking ready. I'm sick of this. Sometimes it takes frustration to move us to readiness. But be super honest with yourself. If you found something that you're like, okay, I want to tweak this. I want to start eating more slowly. I want to start minimizing the amount of processed foods in my diet. I want to set firm boundaries with other people around my eating behavior. I want to refocus some of my thoughts or challenge some of my thoughts around eating behaviors. How ready are you to do those things? Okay, and again, no judgments. Sometimes we're just not ready to change. I definitely have those moments as well. I'm like, I'd really like to do this, but I'm sure. I'm not like ready to go. Maybe you start with the ones that you feel like, I can do that. That's easy. And you build your confidence by focusing on those things that you're like ready to change, right? And then a good question to ask yourself as well is, it kind of speaks to this concept of what we call self-efficacy. Self-efficacy is your belief in your ability to change a particular thing, right? Do you think that these changes are actually possible for you? Do you think that eating less, after dinner is possible for you? I bring that up because night eating's been like one of the main things that I've struggled with. And this year it's something that I've finally overcome. But for a long time, I was like, no, that's just the way I've always done it. So I probably can't change it. If you think you can't change it, then you've already answered the question for yourself. But please know that no matter what your history with something has been, that doesn't necessarily mean that that's your future. Do you think you can change it? And maybe again, you write a list. Of course I can change this behavior. I can change it because this. I can change it because that. I can change it because of this. Really work on that self-empowerment and know that you can totally change. You can change anything, but it takes time. It takes patience. It takes like reworking. It takes trial and error, right? So if you know that and you approach behavior change with that knowledge that it takes those things, right? Then maybe when you have a setback, you can still say like, okay, I had a setback, but I know I can do this. Okay, today wasn't a good day, but I know I can do this, right? That self-efficacy is so important to behavior change, right? And that kind of speaks to this concept of confidence. So again, you might want to ask yourself where you fit on the readiness scale of confidence. Are you like, I can totally do this? No problem. I'm ready to do it. I feel like I can do it, and I know I can do it, right? That's a high level on this confidence ready scale. Maybe you're not there yet, though. Maybe you're like, I think it's possible, but I think it's possible for other people, but I don't think that I'm the kind of person that can change that, right? And then maybe you want to address that. Maybe you need to like reaffirm, do some affirmations perhaps, that you're able to change anything because you're able to change your behavior, right? Anyone is able to change their behavior. Even if you've done something the same way all your life, anyone is able to change their behavior. So maybe you have to do some confidence building kind of affirmations, or another suggestion is to take baby steps, right? They're called mastery experiences, right? Where you like set really small goals for yourself. And then when you succeed at them, because you will, because you can, you're like, that was easy. I can totally do this. I'm so good at this. Right? And build that confidence so it feels like you are maybe unstoppable and this is totally possible for you. Okay? And maybe, you start small and you start today. Is there something that you've identified that you are ready to change today? I am going to maybe even change the way I think, or when I think these things, I'm going to say this to myself instead. When I have a craving for food, maybe I wait 5 minutes before I go and eat something. And maybe you still eat something, but you just changed something. You just added what we call a delay to behavior, right? That's a change. Can you change something today that is going to help you feel more empowered and move you along that process of behavior change, which again takes time, okay? And when you do make a decision, that is in line with your values and goals. So when you do have like what we might call success, maybe you stood firm in your desire not to eat beyond a certain level at a party, perhaps. Maybe you stood firm in your ability to like not take on other people's emotions and not own those emotions, but you're like, no, that's their emotions, those aren't mine, right? So you made a change, right? If you make a change that you're proud of, one thing that can promote like the integration of that behavior, the like mastery and the easiness of that behavior in the future, is to give yourself like a feel-good moment, right? I don't mean rewarding yourself with more food. We got to get away from that stuff, that way of thinking, but can you reward yourself in just like like sometimes like a literal pat on your back? Sometimes like I do this to myself when like I didn't want to go to the gym and I go, I'm like, yeah. I feel good. I make myself feel good about it because your reward system's kind of in line. It works together with your like behavior system, the parts of your brain that like make you always default to a particular way of being. If we want to default to a new, like learn something new, right? The part of your brain that's involved in learning, one of the things that helps us learn is that reward, right? So if you can reward yourself mentally for quote unquote good behavior, even though I don't like talking about good or bad, but let's just say good behavior, that can help integrate that new behavior. And if you are trying to change your behavior, what's super important to remember is that relapses are normal. They are part of behavior change. They like the behavior change literature, it's like they just like expect relapses to happen. They expect people to like be doing really well and then they have an off day, let's say, right? That's just part of being human, right? It's hard to change behavior and it takes time. So if you have a relapse, if you've been, let's say, really standing firm in your decision making, or you've been like regulating your nervous system well, right? So you feel a lot more like clarity and ease and like safety and goodness, maybe security in your body, right? But you have a few days where you just like, you throw that away and you don't maybe regulate yourself as much. Can you have compassion for yourself? Can you say to yourself, oh, look, this is me being human. Oh, I relapsed. Yeah, of course, because I'm a human and that's what humans do. Can you not use that as evidence that you're a failure and instead use that as evidence that, oh, I'm changing behavior. I had a relapse. That's kind of totally part of changing behavior. So know that they happen and that they're a part of change. Okay. And as always, we need to be compassionate, loving, patient, tolerant, accepting with ourselves as we try to change behavior. But what's so important is that concept I talked about earlier, which is of self-efficacy. Knowing that you're able to change. You are absolutely able to change your behavior. Just because you've acted a certain way your whole life doesn't mean that's the way you're going to be for the rest of your life. That's one of the beauties of the way our brains work, is that we can start to readjust the way our brains work and kind of really integrate and affirm and like strengthen neural pathways that are maybe more in line with our behaviors and away from ones that aren't, right? But that takes time. So please be aware of that. And like I said, be compassionate with yourself as you do that. And again, start with the thing that you feel that you're able to change today. And start with an awareness of what for you is affecting your desire to perhaps eat more than you'd like to. Okay? And as always, this is about you feeling amazing. This is about you feeling amazing so you can show up more like yourself, so you can walk into a room confidently, so you can feel good about your behaviors and of your life, and so you can feel more empowered and aligned with your true self, right? So hopefully that message resonates. Best of luck in your appetite mastery journey. And I'm Deanna Bedoya, and I will see you in another video.